What teacher lost everyone's respect in one day? Mr. Davis was the kind of teacher everyone wanted to have. He taught junior year history and ran the debate team, and his classroom was always full during lunch because he actually listened when you talked. He'd been at our school for 8 years and won Teacher of the Year 3 times. Then everything changed on a Tuesday in October. It started small. Mr. Davis canceled debate practice that afternoon with no explanation, just sent a mass text saying something came up. Weird, because he never missed practice. Even came in once with the flu because we had regionals coming up. The next day, he seemed distracted during class, kept checking his phone under his desk like he thought we couldn't see. When Aisha asked him a question about the Civil War, he stared at her for a solid 5 seconds before asking her to repeat it. That Friday, he left campus during lunch period. I only noticed because I was walking to my car to grab my jacket and saw him speed out of the parking lot, which was against school policy. Teachers aren't supposed to leave during school hours unless it's an emergency. He came back 40 minutes later, looking stressed. His shirt was wrinkled and he had this weird energy, like he was trying too hard to act normal. In class that afternoon, Taylor mentioned that Mr. Davis's wedding ring was gone. I hadn't noticed before, but she was right. He'd worn that ring every single day for the 3 years I'd known him. Now his finger was bare, and when someone asked about it, he said he was getting it cleaned. But there was this look in his eyes that made it obvious he was lying. Monday morning, Principal Vega called an emergency assembly. She said there had been some concerns raised about a staff member and they were investigating. She didn't say who, but everyone knew it was Mr. Davis because he wasn't there. His classroom door was closed, and there was a substitute sitting at his desk looking uncomfortable. The rumors started immediately. Some people said he'd been caught doing something inappropriate. Others said he'd just quit without notice. But nobody knew for sure. That afternoon, a group of debate team kids decided to look through the classroom window. They came back looking confused and upset. Mr. Davis's desk was completely cleared out. No papers, no coffee mug, no photos of his wife and kids that used to sit by his computer. Everything was gone, like he'd never been there. Wednesday, the truth started coming out, but not from the school. Someone's older sister, who worked at the courthouse downtown, posted on social media that she'd seen Mr. Davis there Tuesday morning. Divorce filing, she wrote. Looked like he'd been crying. Then a junior named Marcus said his mom worked at the same law firm as Mrs. Davis, and apparently she'd filed a restraining order against him. Things got weirder Thursday when Claire from debate team said her dad was a lawyer who knew the Davis family. She came to lunch looking shaken and refused to talk about what she'd heard. Just kept saying it was really bad and we wouldn't believe it. By Friday, the story was everywhere, spreading through text chains and whispered conversations in hallways. Mr. Davis wasn't coming back. He'd been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation, and the reason made everyone who'd ever looked up to him feel sick. The full story came out Monday morning when Principal Vega made another announcement. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. She said Mr. Davis had engaged in conduct that violated school policy and the trust placed in him as an educator. They couldn't share details because of privacy laws, but parents were being notified, and anyone who needed to speak with a counselor should come to the office. But we didn't need official details because Claire finally told us what her dad had told her, and that's when things took a turn none of us expected. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Claire takes a deep breath, her eyes scanning our faces. We're huddled in the far corner of the cafeteria, away from everyone else, a protective circle around her. The normal lunch buzz fades to background noise as we wait. Mr. Davis was having an affair with a student, she finally says, her voice barely above a whisper, from the debate team. The air seems to vanish from our little circle. Someone gasps. I feel my stomach drop like I'm in free fall. Who? Marcus asks, though I think we all already know the answer. Eliza Chen, Claire confirms, and the name hangs in the air between us. Eliza, our debate team captain. 18, brilliant, headed to Georgetown next fall. Always Mr. Davis's favorite. Claire continues, her words tumbling out faster now. It started over the summer at that debate camp he chaperoned. My dad has seen the evidence, Mrs. Davis found texts on his phone when he left it unlocked. Explicit messages, photos. She trails off, looking sick. That's why he left campus on Friday, I say, remembering his rushed exit, the wrinkled shirt when he returned. Mrs. Davis must have confronted him. She did more than confront him, Claire says. She went straight to Principal Vega with screenshots. The school board suspended him immediately. My dad is representing Mrs. Davis in the divorce. He says she swallows hard. It's bad, really bad. I can't process this. Mr. Davis, who stayed after school helping me with my Civil War paper last semester, who brought donuts to morning debate practices, who kept a photo of his kids on his desk and talked about his wife's garden. That Mr. Davis was secretly meeting a student, someone my age. By afternoon, the school has split into factions. Some refuse to believe it, posting Stand With Davis on social media, claiming it's all a misunderstanding. Others are disgusted, sharing old photos of Mr. Davis with Eliza at tournaments, analyzing every interaction with new suspicion. He always gave her extra coaching time, Aisha points out during 5th period. Remember when he drove her home after that late practice in September? I do remember. I also remember how he'd lean over her shoulder during debate prep, his hand lingering on her chair, how she'd stay behind when everyone else left. Things that seemed innocent before now feel tainted, corrupted. Principal Vega calls an emergency assembly after lunch the next day. She looks exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes, and her normally perfect blazer slightly rumpled. I know many of you have heard rumors regarding Mr. Davis, she begins, her voice echoing through the silent auditorium. While I cannot discuss personnel matters in detail, I can confirm that Mr. Davis has been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation into allegations of inappropriate conduct with a student. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Principal Vega raises her hand for silence. The school board takes these allegations extremely seriously. We have mandatory counseling sessions available for all debate team members starting tomorrow. Additionally, we've brought in Dr. Ramsey, a crisis counselor who specializes in student-teacher misconduct cases. She gestures to a woman with silver-framed glasses sitting at the edge of the stage. Dr. Ramsey will be available to any student who wishes to speak with her. Your well-being is our primary concern. After the assembly, our substitute history teacher, Mr. Peterson, can barely control the class. Every discussion circles back to Mr. Davis, no matter how hard he tries to redirect us to Reconstruction-era policies. What about regionals? Taylor asks during debate team's first meeting without our coach. They're in 3 weeks. We can't just drop out. Miss Hernandez from the English department will be taking over temporarily, Marcus says. He's been appointed interim team captain with Eliza absent, but she doesn't know our arguments or strategies. I haven't seen Eliza since last Friday. No one has. Her Instagram went private over the weekend, and her phone goes straight to voicemail. Rumors say her parents pulled her out of school, maybe even planning to move. I wonder if she's okay, then immediately feel guilty for worrying about her when Mr. Davis is the one who betrayed everyone's trust. After school, I find myself walking past Mr. Davis's classroom out of habit. Through the window, I can see Mrs. Davis with 2 police officers, watching as they box up the remaining items from his desk. Her face is tight with anger and pain, and I quickly duck away before she notices me staring. That night, Claire texts our group chat. Dad says Mrs. Davis gave the school emails going back months, police investigating potential criminal charges. I lie awake, remembering all the lunch periods I spent in Mr. Davis's classroom, how safe it felt, how much I trusted him. I think about the college recommendation letter he wrote for me last month, wondering if I should even use it now. I think about Eliza, who must have believed he loved her, and Mrs. Davis, whose entire life has been shattered. The next morning, a news van is parked outside school. A reporter tries to interview students as they enter, asking about Mr. Davis's relationship with the debate team. Principal Vega eventually comes out and asks them to leave school property. In the hallway between classes, I overhear 2 teachers whispering. They're saying it wasn't just Eliza. They're looking into his previous school too. I freeze, my books clutched against my chest. Previous school? How long has this been going on? The debate team meets after school in our usual room, but everything feels wrong without Mr. Davis. We sit in awkward silence until Marcus finally stands up. We have to keep going, he says. Regionals are coming up, and we've worked too hard to give up now. When I nod, but as I look around at my teammates' faces, some angry, some confused, some just sad, I wonder if anything will ever feel normal again. The person we all trusted, admired, even loved in a way, wasn't who we thought he was at all. And the worst part, looking back, all the signs were there. We just didn't want to see them. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying everything Mr. Davis, leaning over Eliza during debate prep, their private strategy sessions, how he'd always praise her arguments more than anyone else's. Had I witnessed grooming happening right in front of me? By morning, I'd made a decision. I needed to talk to Eliza. I knew where she lived. We'd all dropped her off after tournaments before. Her house was in the nice part of town, with a circular driveway and those perfect bushes that look like someone measures them with a ruler. I stood on her porch for almost a minute before working up the courage to ring the doorbell. To my surprise, Eliza herself answered. She looked terrible, hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same Westridge debate hoodie she'd had on the last day I saw her at school. "What are you doing here?" she asked, not inviting me in. "I need to know what happened," I said. Everyone's saying, "I know what they're saying." Her voice was flat. "Come in before the neighbors see you." Her living room was immaculate, except for the blanket and pillow on the couch, suggesting she'd been sleeping there. Her parents were apparently at work. We sat in uncomfortable silence until I couldn't take it anymore. "Was it true?" I finally asked. "You and Mr. Davis?" Eliza stared at her hands. "It's not what everyone thinks." "Then what is it?" "We love each other," she said, looking up with sudden intensity. "This isn't some creepy thing. We connected intellectually first. He's the only person who's ever really understood me." My stomach turned. Those were exactly the words predators convinced their victims to believe. "Eliza, he was your teacher. He's married with kids. His marriage was already over," she insisted. "And I'm 18. It's not illegal." "But it started at debate camp," I said. "Last summer. You weren't 18 then." She flinched. "Who told you that?" "Claire's dad is Mrs. Davis's lawyer. He's seen the evidence." Eliza's face hardened. "Mrs. Davis is twisting everything." She found some texts and jumped to conclusions. "Michael and I were careful." "Michael?" I interrupted. "You call him Michael?" "That's his name," she said defensively. I left Eliza's house feeling sick. She truly believed they were in love, that this was a romance rather than predation. The worst part was hearing her parrot phrases that clearly came from him about their intellectual connection and how age is just a societal construct. By the time I got home, social media was exploding. Stand with Davis was trending among students who couldn't believe the allegations. People were posting old photos of him at school events, sharing stories about how he'd helped them through tough times. Then came the counter movement. Believe survivors and Davis is a predator, mostly from parents and alumni who'd heard rumors about his behavior for years. The next day at school was chaos. News vans lined the street outside, reporters shoving microphones at students as they entered. "Did you have Mr. Davis as a teacher? Were there signs of inappropriate behavior? Did the school ignore warning signs?" Principal Vega sent security to keep them off campus, but the damage was done. Our substitute history teacher, Mr. Peterson, completely lost control of class discussions. "My cousin goes to Westlake," said Taylor during third period. "She says Mr. Davis was asked to leave there too, but they kept it quiet." "That's just a rumor," Marcus argued. "Mr. Davis wouldn't do this. There's got to be another explanation." The class dissolved into heated arguments until Mr. Peterson finally shouted, "Enough! Open your textbooks to page 237. Nobody did. That afternoon, the school board announced an emergency meeting for 7 p.m. I went with my parents, surprised to find the auditorium packed with families, teachers, and community members. Camera crews hovered outside, barred from entering but capturing everyone who walked in. Mrs. Davis sat in the front row, flanked by Claire's father and another woman I didn't recognize. She looked completely destroyed, thin and pale, like she hadn't slept in days. I couldn't imagine what she was going through, having her husband's betrayal dissected so publicly. The board president, Dr. Michaels, called the meeting to order. "We understand the community has questions about the situation involving Mr. Davis. While we cannot discuss all details of an ongoing investigation, we want to assure parents that student safety is our primary concern." For 2 hours, parents took turns at the microphone. Some defended Davis, calling him an exemplary teacher being railroaded by rumors. Others demanded to know how the administration had missed the signs. whether there had been previous complaints. My daughter was on the debate team 3 years ago, one mother said, her voice shaking. She mentioned feeling uncomfortable with Mr. Davis's attention towards certain female students. I reported it to Principal Vega, who assured me it would be addressed. Clearly, it wasn't. All eyes turned to Principal Vega, who stared straight ahead, her face unreadable. The next day, the debate team met after school. With regionals approaching, we needed to decide whether to continue. I say we compete, Marcus said. We've worked too hard to give up now. Without Eliza? Someone asked. Without Davis, I corrected. And yes, we can do this. I'll take lead on the affirmative case. While reorganizing the debate materials, I found a leather-bound journal tucked in the back of the supply cabinet. I recognized it immediately as Mr. Davis's. He'd always been writing in it during practice. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. What I found made my blood run cold. Entries dating back years, describing his special connections with different students. Names were abbreviated EC, was clearly Eliza Chen, but there was also MR from WL Westlake and at least 3 others. One passage made me physically ill. The trick is to make them feel special, intellectually superior to their peers. Create a bubble where only the two of you exist on a higher plane. The transition from mentor to lover then happens naturally, initiated by them if you play it right. I slammed the journal shut and immediately took it to Principal Vega's office. Her secretary tried to stop me, but I pushed past her. You need to see this, I said, dropping the journal on her desk. It's evidence. He's been doing this for years. Principal Vega looked at the journal, then at me. Where did you find this? Debate room cabinet. Read it. There are other victims. That night, the local news reported that a former student from Westlake High had come forward with allegations against Mr. Davis. The next day, another from his first teaching job in Oregon. By the end of the week, 5 former students had contacted authorities. The school administration issued a staff-wide gag order forbidding discussion of the case, but it was too late. Parents were demanding to know how Davis had been hired with this history, why complaints had been ignored, who else knew and said nothing. In the hallway between classes, I overheard 2 teachers. Vega knew. 3 parents complained last year about his behavior with female students. She buried the reports. I thought about the journal entries, the pattern spanning years. This wasn't just about Mr. Davis anymore. It was about a system that protected predators instead of students. And we were just getting started. The email arrived at 6:42 a.m., sent to the entire debate team, several teachers, and even some parents whose addresses Mr. Davis must have had from permission slips. I was half asleep when my phone buzzed, but the subject line, "The truth about recent allegations," jolted me awake instantly. I feel compelled to address the rumors circulating about me, Mr. Davis wrote. My relationship with Eliza Chen has been grossly mischaracterized. What existed between us was a purely professional mentorship that has been twisted into something inappropriate by individuals with personal vendettas against me. He went on for paragraphs, explaining how Eliza's exceptional intellect required special attention and how his wife had misinterpreted their text exchanges. By the time I finished reading, my hands were shaking with anger. Is everyone seeing this? Marcus texted our group chat seconds later. He's gaslighting us, I replied. Classic predator move. Principal Vega sent an email 30 minutes later, instructing everyone to delete Davis's message without responding and reminding us that he was prohibited from contacting students. Too late, screenshots were already circulating through the entire school. That afternoon, our makeshift debate practice was just getting started when the door swung open. Mr. Davis stood there, unshaven, wearing jeans and a wrinkled button-down instead of his usual pressed slacks and tie. The room went completely silent. I need 5 minutes with my team, he said, his voice cracking slightly. Miss Hernandez, our temporary coach, stepped between him and us. Michael, you need to leave immediately. You're not permitted on campus. He ignored her, looking past her to where we sat frozen in shock. They're trying to destroy everything I've built. You all know me. You know who I really am. His eyes were bloodshot, and he swayed slightly as he spoke. I wondered if he'd been drinking. Eliza and I never, he started, but Miss Hernandez cut him off. I'm calling security, she said, pulling out her phone. That's when Mr. Davis lost it. They're lying, he shouted, slamming his fist against the wall. My own wife, the administration, all of them. 2 security guards appeared within minutes, flanking him on either side. Sir, you need to come with us now, the taller one said firmly. We watched in horrified silence as they escorted him down the hallway, his voice echoing as he continued shouting about conspiracies and how we'd all abandoned him. Several students from other classrooms poked their heads out to witness the spectacle of our once respected teacher being forcibly removed from the building. Practice is canceled for today, Miss Hernandez said quietly after he was gone. None of us argued. That night, Claire texted me. Dad says Mrs. Davis filed for full custody today. Davis isn't even fighting it. I couldn't sleep, thinking about the journal I'd found, about all the warning signs we'd missed, about the system that had protected him for years. By morning, I'd made a decision. We need to do something, I told Marcus before first period. The administration knew about Davis. They covered for him. By lunchtime, we'd organized a sit-in for the following day. We printed flyers with the heading, Administrative Accountability Now, and a list of demands. A full investigation into how complaints against Davis were handled, transparency about previous reports, and a new reporting system for misconduct concerns. Word spread quickly. By the end of the day, over 100 students had committed to joining us. Principal Vega called me to her office during 7th period. I understand you're planning some kind of protest. Hey, she said, her voice carefully controlled. I need to remind you that disrupting school operations violates our conduct policy and could result in suspension. With all due respect, Principal Vega, I replied, covering up a predator's behavior violates a lot more than a conduct policy. Her face hardened. That's a serious accusation. We found the buried complaints, I bluffed, watching her reaction carefully. 3 parents reported concerns about Davis last year alone. The slight widening of her eyes told me everything. The rumors were true. The next morning, 200 students gathered in the main courtyard instead of going to first period. We sat silently, holding signs demanding accountability. Local news crews, tipped off by someone, filmed from the street, By noon, the school board had called an emergency meeting. By evening, board member Richard Tanner had resigned, admitting in a statement that he'd been aware of concerning reports about Davis's behavior with female students but had deferred to administrative judgment in not pursuing them. That night, Mr. Davis appeared on Channel 8 News, clean-shaven and composed, claiming he was the victim of character assassination and mob mentality. "These allegations have destroyed my career and my family," he said, looking directly into the camera, all because of misunderstandings and exaggerations. The interviewer, to her credit, didn't let him off easily. "Multiple former students have now come forward with similar stories spanning your entire teaching career. How do you respond to that pattern?" He had no good answer. The next day, we learned Eliza's parents had filed a lawsuit against the school district for negligence in protecting their daughter. 3 more families joined them within days. I couldn't stop thinking about Davis's previous school. That weekend, I drove to Westlake High, 40 minutes away, and spent hours in a coffee shop across the street, reaching out to former students through social media. By Sunday night, I had spoken to 4 young women with nearly identical stories about special mentorship that had crossed boundaries. One had reported him to administration. Nothing had been done except allowing him to resign quietly and move to our school. "We thought we were protecting the school's reputation," she told me, her voice hollow. "All we did was give him new victims." When I returned to school on Monday, an anonymous website had appeared, davistruth.org. It documented his history across 3 schools with testimonials from former students, screenshots of inappropriate messages, and a timeline of ignored complaints. No one knew who created it, but it spread like wildfire, forcing the superintendent to announce an independent investigation into potential administrative failures in addressing misconduct concerns. That evening, my phone rang with an unknown number. It was Mrs. Davis. "You're the one who found his journal," she said, without introduction. Her voice sounded thin, exhausted. "Yes," I admitted. "I'm sorry. Don't be. I should have seen the signs years ago." She paused. He was always so protective of his phone. Always staying late for special coaching sessions. I told myself he was just dedicated to his students. I didn't know what to say. "I'm speaking at the board meeting tomorrow," she continued. "I want to help other people recognize the warning signs I missed. Would you? Would you be willing to be there?" I thought about all the lunch periods spent in Mr. Davis's classroom, how safe it had felt, how much I'd trusted him, how completely he'd betrayed that trust. "Yes," I told her. "I'll be there." The arrest happens on a Tuesday morning. I'm in AP Calculus when Principal Vega's voice crackles over the intercom, asking all teachers to check their emails immediately. Our teacher, Miss Collins, frowns at her computer screen, then quietly asks us to continue working independently while she steps into the hallway. When she returns 5 minutes later, her face is ashen. "Class, there's been a significant development in the situation involving Mr. Davis. The administration will provide details at the appropriate time. Please focus on your work for now." But nobody can focus. Whispers ripple through the classroom as phones buzz with incoming texts. Marcus sends our group chat a local news link. "Former Westridge teacher arrested on multiple charges of sexual misconduct with minors." The article includes a photo of Mr. Davis being led from his apartment in handcuffs, looking nothing like the confident mentor we once knew. His hair is disheveled, his eyes hollow. The caption reads, "Michael Davis, 37, faces charges in connection with alleged inappropriate relationships with students spanning 3 schools and nearly a decade." By lunch, everyone's seen the article. The cafeteria buzzes with conversations about the arrest, about how investigators found evidence at his previous school in Westlake that matched the pattern in his journal targeting debate team members, creating special mentorships, gradually escalating physical contact. "They found emails," Claire tells us, her voice low. "My dad says there were emails between Davis and the Westlake principal. The principal knew exactly why Davis was leaving, but gave him a recommendation anyway, just to get rid of their problem." "What about Principal Vega?" I ask. "Did she know too?" Claire nods slowly. 3 separate complaints were filed last year, all buried. The announcement comes 7th period. Superintendent Dr. Winters stands at the podium in the auditorium, flanked by 2 school board members. His normally cheerful face is grave as he addresses the packed room. Effective immediately, Principal Vega has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an independent investigation into administrative failures regarding Mr. Davis. Dr. Eleanor Jameson will serve as interim principal while we determine the full extent of these institutional breakdowns. A collective gasp ripples through the audience. Principal Vega has been at Westridge for 12 years. She seemed untouchable. Dr. Jameson steps forward, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes that somehow still manage to convey absolute authority. "My first priority is rebuilding trust," she says firmly. "Starting tomorrow, we're implementing comprehensive background checks for all staff members, past and present. We're also establishing an anonymous reporting system for any concerns about faculty conduct." She pauses, scanning the room. The failures here weren't just one person's. They were systemic. And fixing systemic problems requires systemic change. The debate team meets that afternoon with Ms. Hernandez. "Despite everything, regionals are still happening in 2 weeks, and we need to decide whether to compete." "I think we should," Marcus says quietly. "Not for Davis, for ourselves." We vote unanimously to continue. That night, we work until midnight, restructuring arguments, reassigning speaking roles, covering Eliza's parts. When we finally leave, something feels different, like we're reclaiming something that was taken from us. 2 weeks later, we compete at regionals. Nobody expects much from us, the team with the predator coach, the missing captain, the scandal hanging over our heads. But something happens when we step into that first round. All the anger, all the betrayal, all the pain of the past month fuels our arguments. We're sharper, more passionate, more determined than I've ever seen us. When they announce the winners, our school's name echoes through the auditorium. "First place, as we accept the trophy," Marcus speaks briefly. "We dedicate this victory to survivors everywhere. Your voices matter." The following Monday, Dr. Jameson calls me to her office. "Eliza Chen's parents called," she says. "She started therapy. The counselor thinks it might help her recovery to speak with peers who understand the situation." "Is she ready for that?" I ask, remembering how defensive she'd been at her house. She's beginning to understand what happened to her. Dr. Jameson says gently, how grooming works, how predators manipulate their victims into believing it's love. She's asked for you specifically. I meet Eliza at a coffee shop off campus the next day. She looks different, still tired, but clearer somehow, like a fog has lifted. I believed everything he told me, she says, during her untouched latte, that I was special, that our connection transcended normal boundaries, that no one would understand. She looks up at me, eyes glistening. He had this whole playbook. I wasn't even the first. It wasn't your fault, I tell her. I know that now, she says, intellectually at least. The rest will take time. In March, I receive a subpoena to testify at Mr. Davis's preliminary hearing. I sit in a small courtroom, describing the journal I found, the patterns I observed, the way he isolated certain students. Mrs. Davis sits in the front row, somehow looking both fragile and formidable. 2 days later, Mr. Davis accepts a plea deal, 8 years in prison, sex offender registration, permanent revocation of his teaching license. No trial, no cross-examination of his victims. It feels both like justice and like we've been cheated of the chance to fully expose what he did. A group of students forms a support circle for those affected by Davis's betrayal. We meet weekly in the library, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to process our anger at the system that protected him for so long. Occasionally, former students from his previous schools join us via video call, sharing their own experiences, their own healing journeys. In April, Mrs. Davis speaks at a school assembly about recognizing predatory behavior. She stands tall at the podium, her voice steady as she describes the warning signs she missed in her own home. Predators don't look like monsters, she tells us. They look like the people you trust most. They're charming, respected, beloved. They isolate their targets, create special relationships, and convince everyone, including their victims, that these boundary violations are normal, even special. As senior year draws to a close, I make my college decision, education major, with a minor in ethics. When people ask why I want to be a teacher after everything that happened, I tell them that's exactly why I need to be one to help create the kind of educational environment I wish we'd had. 1 year after graduation, I return to Westridge as a student teacher. The hallways feel both familiar and strange, like revisiting a childhood home. Dr. Jameson is now the permanent principal. The anonymous reporting system she implemented has become a model for other schools in the district. Mandatory boundaries training happens every semester for both staff and students. The debate team has a new coach. Ms. Hernandez took the position permanently. They didn't win regionals this year, but they're rebuilding, healing. The trophy from our victory sits in the display case with a small plaque, dedicated to truth and accountability. On my first day of student teaching, I pass by Mr. Davis's old classroom. It's now a student resource center, bright and open, with glass walls and comfortable seating. A place designed for transparency, for safety. I think about how our community broke, then rebuilt itself stronger. How systems fail, but people can still choose to do better. How trust, once shattered, can be reconstructed not the same as before, but perhaps more resilient for having been tested. This is what I want to teach, beyond any curriculum, that even after profound betrayal, we can find our way back to believing in each other again.